wants me to refer to him as another consultant biomedical scientist, but he wears many hats. He's on the board of the Allied Sciences and many others. Quite recently, or in the recent past, he was the PRO for the Association of Biomedical Sciences, and a friend to the station and the program. Dennis, how are you doing?
Senior, I'm doing well.
Yeah, when you
And
call me
thanks a
senior,
lot for this other opportunity.
right, when you call me senior, it's a problem. But today, folks, I want to look at the role and importance of biomedical sciences in healthcare. A mixture of mixtures: biology, chemistry, medicine. I don't know, but they'll be telling you what it is. And I know, many of you go into labs or you have lab requests and you go and you have samples taken, tissue taken, all sorts of funny things that these terrorists do to us, right? In the name of finding out what's going on with these God-given bodies that we have, right? They are able to, decode, identify, decipher, let me call it biomedical footprints of whatever is happening in your body, whether it is good or bad, right? They can tell you. And the interesting thing for me is that they can have reference ranges that mean that whether you are in Golu up north or in Edinburgh or Manhattan, there's a certain range of cholesterol or something. They'll explain all that. One size fits all, maybe, or that is why it's a range and not a specific. But that's what we're talking about today. Their role and their importance. We're very, very familiar with the doctors, the physicians who request these investigations, but the people behind the scenes are now with us in the studio, Joy 99.7 FM. So once again, guests, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Right. Now maybe you can take a sample and see if my heart is okay, because
Sure.
the pace at which I got here. But Gershon, let me start with you. Or maybe let me go to Dr. Dennis Edujesi. Hey, Dennis, I see gray hair.
Oh, yeah, I sent you some of these pictures.
I
but
saw
think
your pictures. I chose.
You guys want the young one.
We took the young one. But maybe I'll take a strand of your hair for sample and testing. But just give us an overview. What are the biomedical sciences?
All right, thank you. So, my good regards to my colleagues in the studio. And also, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm
Yeah,
just
great.
fiddling so that we
and-
can hear in the studio.
And also the medical lab scientists across the listeners, and also in Ghana in particular. So the important thing we are discussing is the role of the medical laboratory scientist,
Right.
which is the medical scientist.
Right.
In fact, we have had these terminologies all over. If you go to the UK, we are as biomedical scientists. If you go to the US, you'll be talking about clinical lab scientist or medical laboratory scientist. It's all one in one, the same thing. And basically, it's about people who have acquired the knowledge and the skill in clinical laboratory training. And of course, their purpose and motive, as we all know, is to improve health. So if we are talking about these people, if you come to Ghana, as we are discussing the role and the importance of med lab scientists, what I want you to know is that in Ghana, it's a protected title. Nobody can call him or herself a medical lab scientist, but it's regulated by law. Simply because, as you said, the things we do, if you don't control it, people can extremely cause harm to people. So, now, even with the drones and everything we talk about, people can do targeted killing. We can have your DNA, your genes, and everything, and straight away can manufacture something that will purposely kill no other person but Nortey. So if you don't protect these people, if you don't regulate their practice, then so many things are likely to happen. So, but thank God in Ghana, nobody can just get up and say, I want to practice medical laboratory science.
Okay.
But we collect excretions, we collect body fluids, we collect tissues, and purposely, we even manufacture. As I talk to you, there is somebody in Ghana who is assisting in the manufacturing of COVID tests. And Nortey, there is something that people use in reddening the palm oil that we eat on our market, which
Right.
is the Sudan. A med lab scientist is manufacturing test kit that if you go to the market, You can just dip it in the oil and know whether this one is having Sudan 4 or not. If it has Sudan 4, then you dare not buy it because that particular dye is carcinogenic. It can facilitate the cause of cancer in you. So across board, as far as healthcare is concerned, we are purposely trained and available to contribute to the health in the way of hematology, clinical chemistry, medical microbiology, and all that you can think about. And with the recent incident we are all been crying about, the forensic scientist is a medical lab scientist.
Exactly.
And he's whether this is your father or this is not your mother. And when it comes to the core of it, the hidden professionals, as far as medical lab practice is concerned, is what we are discussing this afternoon.
Okay, so most definitely then you guys are indispensable. We can't do without you. Elizabeth and Gershon in the studio. He says that, look, and I do recall the fight and the advocacy to get your bill passed. Dennis, it's done now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, so since 2013, that's why I said now is a protected title in Ghana. You dare not go about calling yourself medical lab scientist if you don't have a license to practice.
Okay, great. So no Tom, Dick, Kwamina or Nortey can just get up and say they're a biomedical scientist. We've seen, perhaps alarmingly so, the mushrooming of labs or alleged labs. Okay, so coming to you, Gershon, this is a protected field. The relevance, the significance, the justification has just been made by Dennis. Yeah. Anything you want to add to that before we get into big business?
Yeah, I think if you pick the profession, I always say we are the unsound heroes. We are behind the scene.
Okay.
To really unearth problems afflicted to patients. We come out to unearth it and say, you are suffering from this or that. Nobody can look into your eyes and say you are having diabetes. Nobody can say, the way I see your forehead, you are having jaundice. It is the laboratory that have to unearth it.
It's not sorcery, it's not prophecy.
At all. We have to work on it.
Okay.
As my brother said, in hematology, if somebody's having malaria, now people are even running malaria in their bedrooms. But when it comes to rare diagnosis of malaria, it is done in the laboratory.
Proper diagnosis.
Proper diagnosis is done in the laboratory.
Scientific processes.
People are even running pregnancy tests in their shops, their bedroom, and the rest.
Right.
But when it comes to rare pregnancy tests, we need to go beyond. We go beyond just the normal pregnancy test.
Okay. Great stuff. If you just joined us, 21 minutes past the hour of 2, we're now getting into the lab proper. We've got a sense of the domain. If you have any misconceptions, other thoughts, WhatsApp is 055 11 11 997. I will activate the phone line shortly. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. We're looking at the role and importance of biomedical science and scientists in healthcare. In the studio with me, I have Mrs. Elizabeth Irene Beatty. She's the chief servant at Patholab Solutions. Is it? No? Is it Solutions?
That's right.
Patholab Solutions. Gershon Seckley is the CEO of G2 Medical Laboratories. Right? You can find them at 37. I think GBC, do you still have one there?
Yes, please.
Yep. Patholab is in
Adabaka and Kaswa.
And Kaswa.
That's
proper. And Dennis is flying. He's a roving ambassador. He's on Zoom from Kumasi. But coming back, Elizabeth, so this is a serious business.
It is.
Okay, but as soon as I add business to it, people don't see why other people can't get in there. They've got the money, they can bring in equipment and do what you do, right? Regulation, legislation is important.
It is.
Right? Because it protects you.
It does.
And more importantly,
and the clients.
And the
That's
clients.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Say a word or two on that.
Yes. Well, the space has to be regulated in order to ensure that we are getting out results that are of the highest quality possible. When we are running medical laboratory tests, what are we doing? We are diagnosing disease or we are ruling out disease. This impacts on how the doctor is going to treat you. We are monitoring existing disease.
Okay.
Perhaps you have some sort of cancer. The doctor wants to regulate the markers to see how are you progressing? How is the treatment impacting the disease?
Okay.
We want to screen to see whether apparently well people have some sort of condition that is not immediately obvious.
Right.
There's so much that
is revealed, that ensuring that the results are of the highest quality possible is beyond critical. And that means there's a lot of regulation that should go on within the space. And I use the word should go on within the space
Joy
because for
99.7
various
FM.
reasons, the regulation isn't always as it should be. And I say this not looking at our traditional laboratories, but actually even looking beyond the space
Okay.
into other areas such as, pharmacies and shops and so forth, where all sorts of testing has
There's
be-
encroachment.
there is, and there's actually nothing wrong with expanding these services, because
Okay.
these are all services that are needed by people,
Okay.
and accessibility is important. But coming back to regulation, we need to ensure that traditional laboratories are regulated, and there's a framework for that,
Right.
which gradually laboratories are stepping into.
Okay.
However, the concern is that other less regulated spaces
Right.
are also carrying out these tests,
Okay.
and these also have similar impact on patients and clients' health.
So if you're doing it in the wrong place,
Yes.
using the wrong personnel,
Yes,
then
exactly.
you've effectively, essentially evaded the regulation that keeps us safe.
Exactly. The wrong personnel, the wrong testing reagents, because you have many reagents that come into this country which don't give the kind of results that they should give.
Right.
And if you are not undergoing stringent quality control processes,
Okay.
you might miss them. And in the laboratories, definitely at G2, I know that they undergo those. Certainly, we do that in my laboratory, and in other reputable laboratories.
So what are these gray areas? Sorry, I'm jumping in because we lost some time, but Ziggy, I can give him some of the reagents and he will calm down, and we'll get 10 minutes extra. But let me ask you this, you're being very nice about it, but what are these kinds of darker, should I say, compromise with regard to regulation spaces that people are procuring the services that we're talking about?
Yes. Well, I don't even want to use the word darker, because people will always
Darker
do
relative to regulation.
relative to regulation.
I'm very clear.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. People will always do whatever they are permitted to do.
Okay.
So if you have a space where people are allowed to carry out testing unregulated, then obviously they're going to do that.
Okay.
So I think the onus lies on the regulatory bodies to ensure that there is fair regulation
Right.
across the industry, within the traditional laboratories and also in other spaces where people are acting as biomedical scientists,
Okay.
because they are carrying out testing.
Right.
Testing has changed
And
so much.
ascribing,
Yeah.
attributing results and findings to people's lives.
Yes. And like I said, accessibility is key. So I have no issue with testing being carried out in all sorts of places. Look, you can even have your hairdresser carrying out, but that hairdresser should be qualified.
All right.
That hairdresser should understand what quality
What they're
processes.
doing.
Exactly.
How they should handle
That
the
is-
specimens.
That is key.
Right.
That is key, because in our laboratories we do that. It must be uniform across all spaces. Yes, because they impact patient health and they also impact the industry.
Right. Okay. Universal regulation, rules, standards, you name it. This is important. I'm also a scientist. So validity, reliability, right? The hallmarks of the scientific model are critical here. You can't have one result here, the other result is dancing around here, and we're claiming to be using the same samples. I know later we'll get into this. There are even certain precautions you take before you undergo a certain test, and so on and so forth. Okay, some people don't mind them. We just take the sample. We'll get back to you in 30 minutes, and so on and so forth. Depending on what is being done, these regulations, these specifications, these requirements matter. Let me just swing to you quickly, Dennis. Who regulates you? I mean, I know there's Health Facilities Regulatory Authority, HEFRA, and so on and so forth. Where do you fall? And if there's an issue, where do people look for that guidance, that regulation? What should we see at some of these facilities, right? Just before I come back to you, Dennis, I know, Elizabeth Irene, I know Patholab, you boldly put out the ISO
1518922 accredited. That's right.
Or the best shime, right? What these are important things. I'll come back to that, right? Dennis, coming back. So regulation, standards, where do you guys fall?
Thank you very much. So if we are discussing the professional, which is the practitioners, then in Ghana, the Allied Health Professions Council, as I told you, the law that regulates the practitioners is the Act 857. Then you come to where are they supposed to work? You can't just sit in any blue kiosk and decide that you will collect samples and tell us that this is the DNA of this person or that person. Can you imagine in one of these recent disasters if a Muslim had been buried as a Christian because we had identified that person wrongly? So you can't just put these people anywhere, anyhow. The Allied Health Professions Council is a practitioner. Then the Health Facility Regulatory Agency also sees to it that wherever the practice is happening is appropriately handled by a regulated person or the person who has acquired the necessary technique, the skills and everything, having the right equipment to do what is right. And of course, to do the quality assurance that my dear sister is mentioning. And I must say that the Ghana Health Service, with some support, has taken steps to get some of the public laboratories also accredited with the ISO 15189. So it means that gradually we are improving, we are getting there, but there is more room for improvement than we are having now. Without a regulated and controlled environment, we will keep having some of the issues that you raise because people will not care about quality assurance, people will not care about who is being engaged to practice, and at the end of the day, it's the patient that gets harmed.
Okay, great stuff. 30 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. I'm whizzing, but this is serious business. And you know, Ziggy and I, if it's serious, we'll bring them back. If it's 3 times, we'll, just the same way Ioko holds people. No bail. We will go through the issues and we'll talk to them. But if you just joined us, we're talking about and we're considering or reckoning the role and importance of biomedical science in healthcare. Okay, I've got Mrs. Elizabeth Irene, part of the title is Mrs., Beatty. She's the boss at Patholab Solutions. Gershon Seckley is the boss at G2 Medical Laboratories. Dr. Dennis Edujesi. Dennis, why don't you want me to add your other titles? Charlie, man, yes, how? You are skewing the sample in the test tube.
Yeah, at least the profession is what has brought me where I am. So I always want to keep to that.
So just share the others, where the boards you sit, so that people know I don't joke with all of you.
I'm fortunate to be on the Sunyani Teaching Hospital board and also the Allied Health Professions Council board. So at least now I sit right with the other colleagues with the regulator.
Right.
And
so
we hope that to improve subsequently.
Do you get to regulate yourself?
Sure. I have to make sure
all right.
I am always having my license renewed. Every scientist will have to do that every year.
Okay, great stuff. Right, so coming back in-house, this is serious business, and there are serious people, qualified people in the business, right? The licenses, the regulation, and all the inspections and standards you meet permit you to take samples from institutions, individuals, whatever, and do standardized scientific procedures with those materials or specimens or samples, right? And then you come out with your findings. You issue reports, right? You communicate your findings, irrespective of whether the process is or the procedure or the test specifically is. You do have a duty to communicate what you found, right? I know it's a big jump, but let's go there a bit, because we see all sorts of things signed electronically, right? Let's talk a bit about that. What is that space? Once the process has been done, I'll come back to the procedures in a bit, but once it's been done, it is authenticated, authorized, endorsed by a professional with the requisite qualifications. Let me start with you, Gershon. What does that mean?
What that means is that the result that has come out has gone through the process without any hitch.
Right.
Before your results comes out, you make sure that your personnel are in place.
Okay.
They have the requisite qualification. You make sure that the reagent you are using is not expired, is within range.
Okay.
You make sure that the environment
Can
in
you
which
just
you are
move the
running your
microphone
test.
closer to you a bit?
Yeah.
Just pull it closer.
The environment which you are running also meets the standard.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Making sure that the result that has come out before you validate
Mm-hmm.
has really gone through all the necessary process.
Okay.
So that when that result goes out, it is the true reflection of the person's situation.
Okay.
So that's the meaning of that. So if you see validated, it means that there's nothing wrong with that result. It means when that result is sent to another laboratory, another accredited laboratory, you get the same thing.
Okay.
That same sample, when it's sent outside the country, when it comes, should just vary with some little bit, should be within the range,
Okay.
the deviated range.
Right.
But if you do that, then it goes to another laboratory, the result is different. Then you go to another, then there's
There
something.
should be a problem
There should
somewhere.
be a problem. So
Okay.
you, the professional runner, you must make sure the most important thing is that your quality control
Mm-hmm.
must be top notch,
Okay.
because anything can happen at any time. Don't say because I control my system last month, so and therefore everything is going
Okay.
right.
All
So
right.
every step of the way, you must make sure that your quality control system is really running. So
Okay.
if something will go wrong with the sample, then the quality control should tell you that there's something wrong.
Okay.
That is where you have to find out where is the problem coming from.
So there are built-in checks, but
Yes.
as soon as you append that authenticating signature endorsement, right, then you are saying to the recipient of that communication, of that report, that this is okay
Yes.
and up to par.
That's right.
Elizabeth.
That's right.
Exactly.
Right. But okay, let's say you're having lunch. Can anybody in your laboratory sign? Can it be faked? Can it be, we hear of ghost names, we hear of all sorts of things. There's IT, there's AI. How do I, the end user, know that this lab and this person whose signature electronically or whichever way carries that weight scientifically? How do I know that? Because things move very quickly.
That is true, and it's the onus lies on the laboratory to ensure that results are authenticated and validated by the right personnel.
Okay.
Yes, because you're absolutely right. If you don't have those checks in place to ensure that everybody within the laboratory understands who has the authority to validate results, then you might have a situation where anybody can sign out on a result. So a properly regulated laboratory
Right.
will have a system which ensures that only a select number of qualified people
Okay.
will authenticate the report.
Right. Whether it is local or international. Sometimes the things come and it's somebody in South Africa or somewhere.
Sometimes
Is
you may
that
have-
permitted?
Yes, you may have situations where, for whatever reason, the test is not carried out in this country, often because the tests are either very expensive and therefore investing in the reagents may not be cost effective, so you send them outside to be run there. Often the ability to run the test in Ghana is not the problem. The problem is the availability of the reagents or the uptake of the reagents.
Okay.
You open these reagents and you have to finish them within, let's say, a month.
So you're not running enough traffic for that specific test.
If you don't have enough traffic
to
for that
invest
test,
in that
exactly,
reagent.
exactly. Those are often the tests which will get sent out and be signed by somebody outside the country. But so long as that person is qualified, then it's perfectly okay to release a result.
Okay, 36 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.
to add
Just a sec. On Joy 99.7 FM. This is Ultimate Health, your ultimate guide to healthy living. Listen every Sunday, 2:05. We bring up all the important issues that impact on your wellness, your well-being, your life, your health, okay? Your quality of life. I've got top-notch guests in my lab right now in the studio, and we're mixing things in. Is it a round bottom flask, a crucible? There's a Bunsen burner somewhere. I love that, but I didn't like my science teachers too much, because some of them were a bit stern. But this is important. Science must be replicable.
Absolutely.
It must be valid. It must be measuring what it is measuring.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Yes.
there are tests to assure and guarantee these things. Yeah?
That's right.
Okay. So, folks, if you're listening to us, that's why Ziggy is copying all your messages so that I can keep Dennis's nice face with the gray hair on my screen, and then he'll patch it through to me. WhatsApp is 055 11 11 997. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and now they say I should say X. Right? The one that used to fly, yeah? X. You can ask the questions of Gershon Seckley of G2 Lab, Mrs. Elizabeth Irene Beatty of Patholab Solutions, or Dr. Dennis Edujesi, who's also a consultant in the field. All right, let me come back. I'm still waiting to get the feed from my WhatsApp. But okay, so we don't have the requisite parameters, let me just call it that, to do the test or to conduct the test here. That sample is lifted, flown, okay?
That's right.
I am told.
That's right.
All right?
That's right.
So under what conditions is it you, the local lab, that is flying it out? Tell us a bit about that whole process, and I'll come back to Dennis on Zoom as well. I mean, when you say you are flying things out and your laboratory located in Accra, Abelemkpe, Adabraka, wherever, Joe, Louis Legon, you tell me that you've sent samples. What shows you're not doing it in Agbogboshi? I mean, what's happening and what regulates that process? Let's let our listeners understand.
Well, you do have laboratory ethics.
Okay.
And Nortey, you're perfectly right. There's nothing that stops somebody from taking a sample, pretending to send it out, going around the back, doing something, giving you some sort of result. But is that ethical?
Right.
And can you actually trust the results from that laboratory? The
Okay.
chances are that laboratory will have some sort of name attached to it, some sort
Okay.
of reputation that will guide the users as to whether or not to go to that place.
Okay.
So for most laboratories, if there's a sample that needs to be sent out, there's a cold chain process that you would undergo. There's a proper way of packaging, which is part of your quality, because the way in which you transport your samples reflects on the quality of the results that you get.
Right.
It's a bit like buying chicken and not ensuring that the chicken is kept cold before you transport it. If you keep the chicken under room temperature or hot conditions and you transport it for 6 hours or 7 hours, definitely the chicken is going to spoil. And it's the same way with laboratory samples as well. Once you have drawn blood from a person, or you have taken a sample, a specimen, whatever sort of fluid or biological sample you have taken,
Right.
they need to be preserved under certain specific conditions.
Okay.
And these conditions will vary depending on the kind of samples. For some of them, you have to add some sort of reagents, maybe an acid to it.
Okay.
For others, you need to freeze. For others, you need to carry on dry ice and so forth. But for each particular specimen, there is a required transportation form which you will adhere to if you
Okay.
are carrying out your proper quality processes to ensure that the sample is received on the other end in good condition,
Okay.
and therefore you get a good quality test.
All right, folks. 40 minutes already past the hour of 2. Let me just say, hello, Nortey. Can you please ask Madam Elizabeth if she's written books before? I knew this would come. Because I remember very well I read a book in SHS about 14 years ago titled 12th Heart, which
That's
was authored.
me. That's
She's
me.
written several books.
Yes. I've just finished my 9th manuscript. So I run the laboratory by day and I write fiction for children and young adults by night, which is
Okay.
why my eyes are always puffy.
Right. Okay. So we're getting into business, and more of your messages will be coming through to me. Right. We're talking about the role of these biomedical scientists. Okay. I know many of you love it to say just labs. It's beyond labs, right? It's way beyond that. It's a whole spectrum and chain of events, responsibilities, procedures,
That's right.
qualifications,
That's
disciplines, and so on. And people need to understand that so that we don't play games with these. Recently, I did a program on related to cardiology, but people were surprised that there are things you could do before taking your BP that affect the reading. Right? There are many of these prerequisite conditions and requirements for tests that must be adhered to, and the professionals will make sure you adhere to them to ensure that you get a valid result. Okay? Sometimes they even have to query the medications you are on
That's right.
as you present a sample, and they may even refuse.
That's right.
You know,
depending on even the time that you come into
the
the
time
laboratory
you come into the
can
lab,
influence your
whether
test.
you've eaten, all these kinds of things are important scientific, let me call them stricture, right? That must be observed. And that is why you may sometimes get spurious or varying results,
True.
Yeah.
right?
True.
Because the conditions changed
That's right.
along the chain, and that's why my guests are in the studio. All right, let me activate the phone lines whilst I get into the test tube a bit more. And I like the Bunsen burner, increase the heat a bit. Okay, so Dennis, we've looked at the space. I know you guys were frontline, even though nobody called you frontline in COVID, right? A lot of stuff was going on at various facilities. We had different. We were learning PCR. Why PCR can be used for something else. This one used here can be used here, and people were getting a bit confused as to what was going on, and sometimes even to the extent of even worrying about whether to pay the stated costs and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's get into the business. You have a facility. Who is supposed to be there? Elizabeth, I can't see you. After writing a book or a couple of pages of a manuscript, coming and actually directly, there are different levels or tiers of personnel who should be in a lab.
That's right.
Who should be in a lab?
That's right. I mean, you have an organizational structure.
Okay.
And to run an organization, it's like having an engine. The engine would be the biomedical scientists.
Okay.
They are the ones who are actually carrying out the tests.
Right.
However, you have a whole team that is required to ensure that the biomedical scientists are carrying out their tests in an optimal environment.
Okay.
So you have your administrative staff, you need to have your client services, you need to have those who are taking care of HR. HR is critical in these areas to ensure that everybody knows who is supposed to be doing what, who is reporting to whom,
Okay.
making sure that the training that is required is being undertaken.
Okay.
You have your janitors, you have your drivers, you have people who handle corporate clients. There's just a whole team that comes together.
Right.
So it's, unless you're a very, very small laboratory, you can run efficiently like that, of course, where you have perhaps just one biomedical scientist and maybe his front desk person, and then they do the cleaning themselves. You can actually do that very well if your workload is not heavy. But if you have a slightly larger laboratory and you're running tests for a greater number of facilities,
Right.
you will need a whole team. It's a whole organization, and you have
You must have them according to
Yes.
regulation.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
HEFRA will check what you've got, who you've got.
Well, I mean,
or the allied
the
sciences.
key
Yeah?
is to have your biomedical scientist. You
Right.
cannot have the facility and call it a laboratory if you do not have a biomedical scientist there. So
Okay.
that's the most important. And you can be a one-man facility. You
Right.
could, yes. You
Okay.
could be a qualified biomedical scientist. If your workload is not high enough, it means you will run your tests, you will clean your surfaces, you will purchase your own reagents, you will drive.
It's big.
Exactly. But I mean, for how
Right.
long can you carry that
Yeah,
out?
okay.
The truth
And
of the
you'll be
matter
checked.
is, yes, you have.
Still.
Well, you should be checked.
You may be medical and qualified, but you'll be checked for your reliability, efficiency.
The
and
point is
adherence to these
exactly.
standards.
The point is whether you have enough time
Okay.
to make sure that you are adhering to the protocols. If you are 1,000,
Okay.
so yes, you'll have to have a team to work with.
Okay. Right. I'm going to announce the phone line 0302216541. 0302216541. We are in the lab, and we may or may not be in possession of your sample, right? Be it DNA, urine, okay, let me say stool. Some people say something else, right? Stool. Some of them are very uncomfortable to give or to deliver, right? We'll get into that, okay?
Some people are very generous with what they deliver as
Some
well.
people to over-deliver.
Hey,
There's a-
samples in Millotins.
hey, Abba, bring stool sample and you bring
Stool
it in.
samples in Millotins. Yes,
Hey.
Nortey. And the Millotin was full.
I won't ask you where you put them. But hey, oh goodness, 030-221-6541. Serious business with a smile, okay? It gets it done, right? We're talking about biomedical sciences, the kind of tests, laboratory investigations. Sometimes they are actually taking pieces of you. Yes, tissue.
Yes.
And many other things, okay? And they're running these processes and they are giving you results which, let me in quotes say, they gazette. Okay, they have their own collation centers and this thing, but there's no fighting at those centers, right? And they will declare, right, results which will be used to inform, guide, and monitor what is going on with your body. So since it's your body, I'm going to activate the phone line 030-221-6541. WhatsApp remains 055-11-11-997. In the studio, Mrs. Elizabeth Irene Beatty, author and biomedical scientist and chief servant at Patholab Solutions. Gershon Seckley is also a biomedical scientist, a consultant, and head of G2 Medical Laboratories. And Dr. Dennis Edujesi is another big wig in the field, and he's also a consultant medical laboratory specialist. Sometimes when I go into those who are affiliated with the West African, then some people say, hey, you didn't mention mine. So they are in here because I've gone through their papers. Okay, right. So we want to understand these things. So you have the required personnel. You are using international reference ranges, reagents, procedures, etc., to arrive at your results. Okay, I have a caller on the line. I'll come back to where I was going in a second. Hello, good afternoon. Yes, who am I speaking to? I can hardly hear you. Nana, your sample is faint. Let's have a bit more of the sample. Right, Nana, where are you calling from?
Okay, so I'm currently at Dodua.
Dodua, please share with us clearly.
So I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So if a sample is being transported, and for whatever reason, whether it's not transported well or something compromised it, what is supposed to be done? Because me, the patient whose sample is being taken, I wouldn't be there to know if something has happened and it's been compromised. So if that's the case, if that happens, what's supposed to be done? Am I supposed to be contacted back? So another sample is taken, and if so, some of these labs not cheap. Actually, they're expensive.
Okay, right. So if the transportation chain is compromised, the sample is compromised at any point in time, how is this sorted out? Would I, the owner of the sample, right, be contacted? And if it involves any additional cost or retake, is it at my cost?
Well, it depends it depends on the circumstances. Definitely, if the sample is compromised, you cannot run a test on it. You must ensure that you are running tests on good quality samples. Now, if the laboratory itself was responsible for transporting the sample, then you'd probably have to go back and get the sample again. If, however, the patient or the client was transporting the sample to you and there was something that affected the integrity of the sample, then we would have to contact the client immediately to please transport the sample. But be sure that we are giving very clear instructions on the condition or the state under which we want the sample to be delivered to us.
Okay.
I mean, a case in point is, let's say, a semen analysis. You require a semen analysis you require an analysis of somebody's semen sample, sperm counts, quality of sperm, and so forth. There are certain stringent conditions under which you need to get the sample in the laboratory. If the person took the sample in the morning and then gave it to his son or his friend to bring to the laboratory, the friend decided to go to work before they brought it, and you get the sample 7 or 8 hours later, clearly that sample is no good.
Okay.
So you are going to have to get the sample again. But the important thing is to communicate clearly to the client, probably written instructions as to how we need the sample received if we are not collecting it ourselves.
Okay. The only woman in the studio had to use semen sample, right? But again, there we go. Right. So there are important parameters and there are important protocols that must be followed.
Absolutely.
In any scenario, right? Whether it's the handling of the material or so on and so forth. Okay. If I've taken your sample for an HIV test, I must be handling it properly.
Yes.
The outcome must be treated seriously as well.
Yes.
As must be its disclosure.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll come to that in a bit. So, yes, this is from the gentleman in Dodua. After accreditation, do the accreditation boards conduct follow-ups to ensure compliance? If yes, how often and at what rate do they pay surprise visits?
Yes. After accreditation, you will get some visits and there will be follow-ups. Follow-ups are typically after about 6 months. We received accreditation recently in June, but it was after a very long and stringent and arduous process.
Okay.
Yes, we've been on it. It's been a journey for us. We're very proud to have received it. But yes, we will be monitored. Yes, there will be checks, and these will be at certain stated intervals, as will be certain pop-in visits to see how we are doing.
All right. They're in Maryland. You can also pop in from the US, Yeah? come surprise them. But sometimes we do get the sense that there's a bit of leniency among some regulators and some agencies. Okay, we're hearing a big fight about cable TV. If you don't do this, we'll shut you down. This, that. We don't hear too much when it comes to your field. I guess that's why this kind of question, right? So, are you checked? You are definitely checked. Gershon, you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely check us.
Okay.
At times, some may pop in unannounced. They are just passing by to see what we are doing. They just tell, okay, we are in to do one or two things. Oh, you didn't inform us before coming. They said, no, it's part of our routine checks.
Okay.
To make sure that you are not doing something which is not right.
Okay.
Because, as I said, when your controls are not passing, and you think you are running your reagent over and over, you are going to lose money. Know that you are hurting a patient, a client.
Right.
So they will come in unannounced to just check you. And
you tell me I'm pregnant when I'm not.
Yes.
And when I'm male. I mean, how?
Yeah.
Right? We hear some horrendous stories.
Yes.
Some of them may be totally. But, I mean, some of the errors and, the things we hear, how is it handled? I mean, I can prove to you that I am not female. You sent me a result that says I am pregnant or something related.
That is why sample integrity is very, very important.
Yeah.
Where was the sample collected? If you say we should do a pregnancy test for you, and you bring the sample from the house, probably you are collecting the sample from a chamber pot where your wife, who is also pregnant, and you bring it to me, then you should know that already that sample is
so you
compromised.
Question and you are interested in the quality of sample you receive.
Yeah, that is why the validity of the results come to place.
Okay.
Because if I'm supposed to give out a result and I know the person is John Mensah, pregnancy test,
right,
positive, then you, the one who is validating the result, if you're the one that is even running the test, should know that this is a wrong sample. Quickly, you have to call for a repetition.
Okay.
And then some of them will just say, no, that is my urine. That is that.
Okay.
But you need to just be the strict biomedical scientist to say this sample is
science
not right.
requires that you check and recheck.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And if there's variability, it must be within a certain range to be acceptable.
That's right. And sometimes your clients, you'd be surprised at the sort of diabolical things that clients can get up to.
You borrow sperm?
People do all sorts of things, Nortey.
You
have people who come in with a sample, it's not their urine sample, and you run a pregnancy test and it's positive, but it wasn't the person's sample to start with. They'll tell you, yes, because they want a positive pregnancy test.
Right.
And they can bring a urine sample from home and say, oh, I brought my urine from home, can you test it? They can ask somebody, a pregnant person, to give them urine because they want to give
donor.
Yes, because they want to give a pregnant positive test maybe to their boyfriend. We've had situations like that where I've had to counsel women and say, look, how long is this going to last, this charade? How long are you going to pretend to your partner that you are pregnant?
And she watching too many soaps? So
yes, because this lady said she didn't want her partner to feel as if he had spent so much money on her with no positive pregnancy outcome. So yes, and we have to sit down and talk to her and say, no, this is not the way. This is not the way.
Dennis.
So we have problems from all sides, from within the lab and outside the lab as well.
Right. Dennis.
Yes, sir.
Eradicasa. Listen, so these kinds of things can go on. We are comforted in knowing that there's assurance, there's quality checks, and so on and so forth. But when you start hearing things like this, especially sitting on the board, allied sciences or allied health professionals and all that, how would you regard or rate our industry, our biomedical industry or spectrum here? Are we doing well with making sure that we meet these stringent requirements?
Yeah. So, I think we have come of age. The profession is 50 years. It's more than 50 years now. I think that's 1973. So in 2023, we had celebrated the 50-year anniversary.
Okay.
And we have come of age. So as my colleagues are talking over there are measures you need to take so that you can be sure when you move from lab A to lab B, the results you are going to obtain will be similar. Because there is the potential that something could go wrong. But we can't afford to make mistakes. For that matter, the quality assurance processes are there.
Okay.
If I'm to rate the industry, how we have come and how we are performing, if we are putting the professional over there, I wouldn't hesitate to do anything 9 over 10. If we are talking about our logistics, the equipment, the resources we need to perform, then you will say that there is more room for improvement.
We are constrained when it comes to that.
As I have said, now we have public facilities that are also accredited, the ISO 15189. We can talk of some of the regional hospitals. We can talk of some of the teaching hospitals, and even getting to some district hospitals. The quality assurance processes are put in place so that when you move from lab A, Bungrugu Yoyo, you go to Dawa, you go to wherever, you are going to get similar results across. But what I want to add is that as we are discussing all these things, Nortey, imagine the recent tragedy that we had, and we were to do DNA testing for our gallant soldiers and the politicians. And you have a change of event that the samples, as we're going to South Africa, there is an unexpected critical event again. What were we going to do? So it's important, as far as we have the ability to send samples outside Ghana, why don't we build the capacities in country? It's easier to avoid most of these transportation, going, taking samples outside and all that. And those are the areas that, if you ask me, how have we performed, then I will say that there is more room for improvement. Okay. I told you we have colleagues who manufacture tests in Ghana. Are we building the capacities for them to do it rather than always going to China, US, and other things to bring them and use in country? When we can set the sail for them to also bring on board whatever they have learned and the capacity they will can build for us to help the general public. Right. Ultimately, the patient has to take the responsibility of their care in their hands and make sure that where you are going to have the test done, you are not dealing with people who are not qualified, who don't have the requisite knowledge, and if there is any untoward situation, report to the police and the law will allow them to be dealt with. That is the way we can all protect ourselves, in addition to the regulation that we have around.
Okay, Gershon, you wanted to come in at a point. You wanted to add something to
yes.
it? Yeah.
Apparently, when you look at sample integrity, it's very, very, very important. At times, some patients just do anything anyhow, thinking, yeah, if I do this, and at times they insist that is my right, that is my sample, and I said, do this for me.
Just give me a quick example. For example,
somebody
like what Elizabeth
just as Elizabeth said,
right.
Somebody may bring semen analysis to the laboratory after 6 or 7 hours. Then you are telling him that the sample that you brought is not does not pass the integrity test. You tell him, but this is my sample. But just run it for me. You just run it.
On that basis, you can and you may refuse a sample.
Yes, so we refuse the sample.
You must refuse.
We refuse it.
Okay.
And so some of the clients see how they are. If that to be the case, if you not do it for me, I'll take it to another place.
Somewhere else where they
will also do it. And
right.
at times you have to insist on your rights as a practitioner. Because at the end of the day, your integrity is at stake. Insist on the right thing. Let us do the right thing.
Okay.
And that will be it.
Let me ask this question. Now, I'm stealing a few minutes. I know Ziggy will look at me, but we did start late on my account, right? But sometimes patients tell us that the doctor prescribing, requesting says, don't go here, don't go here, go here. Seemingly listing or blacklisting some facilities and endorsing others. Right? Maybe inadvertently. Right. Is that ethical? Can a physician say, go here because I want you to go here and bring me results from here? What's the industry best scenario, best case scenario in these cases? I mean, perhaps a doctor or a requesting physician can do that, but I'm just checking from you guys because patients get a bit confused, right? Especially I get to hear in the grapevine that, well, where they are sending me, Chale, is more expensive than where I would go. Cost and efficiency and all of these things. How do you relate to this issue I'm bringing up?
Well, I would say
both
that
of you in the studio, then I'll come to
I looking at taking everything at face value, I would like to think that a doctor chooses a particular laboratory because they trust their results. They trust their results.
Good.
And that is why they would channel all their clients that way. What I think is an unfavorable situation is where a doctor would then perhaps badmouth another facility without having given that facility a chance because they have one that they already trust. I don't think it would be an ideal situation for the doctor to then badmouth other facilities. But definitely, if as a clinician or a physician, you have a particular facility that you would rather your clients go to, I'm not sure that there's anything wrong with that. If your clients, however, go somewhere else, I think that you should still at least give a chance to that testing facility.
Can they refuse the results?
I understand some doctors do, and I cannot speak for them. I cannot speak for them. I don't know what the basis was for their refusing those results, but I would like to think that a doctor would not knowingly badmouth another facility just because you have a preference and because you know that a certain facility will give you the results that you require.
A quick one on this, Dennis. We hear these things, do your results, do your tests here and bring me results from here or laboratory A, facility A or X. That's permissible, right? Oh, I've lost Dennis. Dennis, on mute.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, go ahead quickly.
In the liberal market, people should be able to perform the test wherever they think they may want to do that. But sometimes some of these things have been influenced by the business component. So if I put more traffic somewhere, possibly the private facility or the person that is being engaged, as far as you are bringing me more clients and this and that, yes, it might not be official, but maybe you get a hamper or you get something and what kind of thing. But I have tried some instances that I did a test in some of the labs that are being referred to. I sent that same sample to some of our public facilities. The results were similar. The fact is that quality assurance, quality control, the things that can tell you that you are making a mistake, if it's at all places, you expect similar results. And for me, that is an issue that in Ghana, if we are resourcing people in all facilities, they should be able to provide the necessary tests and the results that is expected of them. Because it's the same scientist that will be in that facility you are referring people to.
So as they say in English, all things being equal.
All things being equal, resource the people.
It should be a balanced, fair playing for business.
Yes.
But some things I can say offline later, but trust me, the business component is driving most of these things.
I know some people who will be looking for me already, but the last thing I want to wrap up with you, Dennis, promising the three of you that next week we'll go into the lab proper, specific test, common presentations. But Dennis, you made something that, you said something that struck me, if not alarmed me. You said that now several public facilities are being accredited. What does that mean? Does that mean in the past we're being nice, we're doing grandfather's rule with people we should have been very stringent on? Just quickly on that point.
Yes, quickly. We are accredited means that people have used the standard, the ISO 15189, that my dear sister talked about for the patholab. That same standard has been applied to some public facilities. They are trying to extend to all public facilities, but it's costly. So it takes time, and we had always used the quality controls, but now an external person comes to see what you are doing and thinks that if we do test over here, the results we should get in A, B, C, D should all be similar. Rage, 37, Kolebu, Koforidia, the regional hospital, Bolga, Wa.
Right, Dennis.
Now having ISO.
The lawyers will say you have answered, but your answer is not on all fours. Are you suggesting to me that despite all we've shared with our listeners about safety, reliability, validity, and all these things, there was a time, maybe in consideration of the financial burden of receiving that accreditation, public facilities could go under radar?
No, so not all public facilities have ISO 15189. These are standards that an independent person will have to come and assess and tell you that your system is there.
That's exactly my point. My point is, why should they not
have all facilities?
Hang on, if Irene, Dennis, hold on. If Irene will do that for her business, and you're saying a bigger public state-funded facility does not have that, doesn't that discourage Irene from pursuing right, these higher standards.
So, that has been the call all this while. But then, the thing is that you are able to tell that even though I don't have the certification, what do you do when you have the certification? There are guidelines, there are standards, there are quality assurance, what we call the stepwise processes.
Okay.
And I bet you all facilities are following through that process, hoping that one day the funding and everything will let us have the certificate put on our walls and say that we are accredited.
Mention that you're convinced, but we are.
He makes a good point, because you can be working to the standards without actually having.
You haven't gotten there.
You haven't gotten the certificate.
Right.
However, you are working to the standards, because gaining accreditation also requires a certain amount of expense and so
All right,
forth.
folks. I did promise you that the crucible, the round bottom flask, will get hotter, because I'm here on their behalf and your behalf as well. Many thanks to Dennis, Dr. Dennis Edudesi, Mrs. Elizabeth Irene Beatty of Patholab Solutions. Congratulations on your 25th anniversary and your ISO certification.
Thank you.
Gershon, many thanks. Next week you will be in.
Yes,
you
sir.
wanted to say something quickly?
No, I'm all right.
You're all right. Okay. Next week we are really going to go into detail, because I have a pack of things that people have shared with me.
Okay.
Experiences from facilities, within hospitals, within other places, and then the private spectrum as well. Many thanks once again to my listeners, and to Ziggy Bedu, Badio, who kept the fort whilst I was battling through traffic. Stick and stay. But hey, we're getting stronger as a healing nation. I was playing this as I was coming. UB40, sing our old song. Stick and stay. Don't go away. My name is Nortey. By nature, I'm out.